Hey, what's happening everybody? My name is Haydn Adams with A Designer Who Codes. And today I want to talk a few minutes about Codepen and why I think it's a great tool to use, especially if you're getting into coding, into designing, and what you can do with this great free tool. And with that, let's get started. One quick thing before we get started in this tutorial. I'm working on a project and I'd love for your help, YouTube audience. I have a little link down here on my website, adesignerwhocodes.com/YouTube, or just clicking on the YouTube button. I have a form and I'm looking in this form for you if you have any examples that you've done in your own work that you can showcase that I can then showcase to the rest of the world. I'd love to showcase your design through code. If you're up for it, submit some information about what you've done. And if it looks good, I'm going to go through a little vetting process. I'd love to send you a sticker and a thank you note and a token of my appreciation. So if you are one of those people who also relates to the term A Designer Who Codes and you have some example of work to share that you're okay with me sharing publicly, head to my website, which is adesignerwhocodes.com, and you can click on the button YouTube and find the form there. And again, if I do select your work and I do put it up publicly, I will send you a beautiful thank you note and a sticker of A Designer Who Codes. And with that, let's get back to this tutorial. All right, welcome back. Once again, my name is Haydn Adams with A Designer Who Codes. And my goal in this channel is to help you become a better web designer through code. And there's almost nothing better to play around in Codepen. And it even says, just start coding. And what I really like about Codepen, if you do not have an account, go and sign up. I do not get paid for this, just a full disclosure. I'm going to head to login and log into my account. I believe. Do I have the right one? Exactly. Let's go. So what Codepen does, sure, I'll save my password, is you basically get to pen up your code. You get to have like a little post-it note of code. And what it does is I'm going to create a new pen. In the top right, I probably should put an icon into my picture, but hey, what the heck. I'm going to say new pen. And as a web designer and front-end developer, this is music to my ears. They have the three basic pillars of web design: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And what you can do is you can write to your heart's content. So this is the HTML. And what will happen is this code will be interpreted and compiled and shown the results down below. So if you're curious and maybe you've watched one of my previous videos and you're going, well, how do I do this? Well, the answer is in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the answer. If you're like, you know what, I don't need JavaScript, I can just pull over the JS and have just two columns, one for the HTML and one for the CSS. So if I were to say div and then come to the very end and say div, and say div, and I can't say div enough. Notice also inside Codepen that when I put the curly brackets, it closed the curly brackets for me. It makes things easier to code or just test. And I can name my Codepen. So this is just a div. There we go. So in here, you have 5 unsaved changes. You can also save your changes by saying save. And it is now saved. And let's put a background color and we'll say red. There we go. So the great part about Codepen is you get to test things out. So if you are just starting out, and even if you're more advanced, I've seen tutorials that I've taken online that I go, you know what, let me go and test and see how it works. And the great part about this is that I don't have to worry about affecting any of my other designs. This is just a pen that I get to play in. So if you are brand new and you're like, you know what does a div tag do? Or what does a span tag do? Which, by the way, span tags are superheroes. And here's a little super tidbit. Check it out. Watch what happens when I put a span tag around this. Awesome! Nothing. This is why I love span tags. You'll probably hear about me talk about span tags in the future, but span tags do absolutely nothing. They're the web designer's Superman. Instead of having all of the strengths of steel, the span tag does nothing. So, side note in this case, but this is where you get to play around. So if you are brand new and you're trying different pieces, you might be watching one of my courses or someone else's courses, that you can just build a div. And if I go to my previous pens, my dashboard, let me save this just because I can save it. I don't have a lot because I usually don't save too many of my dashboard profiles in terms of what I'm working on. But in previous designs, we've talked about designing for navigation links, Adobe fonts. I was working with some tables and responsive design to make sure I had it right. There's SVG rollover. So what I did for one of my colleagues was that they were worried about how to create a rollover. And I said, you know what, let me create a design for them. And so what I did was, there's my H, there's my star, and I created an image rollover. Actually, maybe I'll talk about this in a future project. That's a pretty good idea. But way back in the day when I was working with Adobe Animate, and I still do it once in a while, I had this cool little plane flyover. And so what I did was I took the code from Adobe Animate and dropped into Codepen to see if it would work. And it did. And it's kind of fun because I get to move things around. And I think the frames per second gets down to 20. And if I say 20, then this guy slows down to 20. Maybe, maybe not. There he goes. So once again, this is where you actually can kind of hash out my old Codepen pieces. So if you are new to Codepen, I'd love to throw me a comment and say, hey, this is my Codepen. I'd love to see some of your work. In future episodes, I'd happy to feature you. So if you do have a Codepen, drop it inside of the comments, and in a future video, I'd happy to showcase your work. As always, I'm Haydn Adams with A Designer Who Codes. I'm passionate about teaching designers how to become better web designers by learning how to code. And my first two courses are up on my website at courses.adesignerwhocodes. These two are all about Gatsby. If you're brand new and you've watched these Gatsby websites, you're thinking, I want to learn how to use Gatsby. Well, this course is for you. How to set up, build, and deploy your first Gatsby website will take you from start to finish on building your first website. If you want to take it a step further, then how to build a blog in Gatsby.js goes through not just the beginner, but more the intermediate usages of Gatsby. So if you are looking to better your web skills, I encourage you to take a look at these courses, sign up, and become a better web designer by learning how to code in these first two courses about Gatsby.js. Once again, I'm Haydn Adams with A Designer Who Codes.